Hi, everybody. I am Holly Celiano, and I have my co-host, Dr. Matthew Singer. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you so much, Holly. It's such a pleasure to do this with you.
It is. I love these. So today we're going to talk about how to heal your ancestral lineage. And a lot of people do not realize that there is a family lineage of certain things that get passed on from generation to generation. And it shows up in our lives. And I really do believe there is most of us that are working on this stuff is awake and aware to heal the familial, familia, the right word, generational lineage,
Mhm.
where, like, if somebody, for instance, has heart disease or a bad heart, it may be everybody in that family has had broken hearts. And that's why they have a weakened heart and heart issues.
Yes.
It could be money issues.
Mhm.
Somebody in that family, it's been, every generation, they all have money issues. And it's up to us in this lifetime. Once we heal ourselves, we heal that generational lineage that this all has been passed down.
Yes.
So I'm
Absolutely.
sure you see this with people. You can see them show up in your practice, and you
Mhm.
almost can see how this has been generational, all the
Yes.
stuff that they have.
Absolutely. In fact, when I'm working with patients and I'm testing their body of where the origin is, 95% of the time it's either in the womb or it's in past generational stages. So if like just like you're saying, we'll give the example of like let's say money, feeling like say unworthy or undeserving, or unable to manage money, or feeling a sense of lack, or feeling as though they just can't hold on to it. So
Mhm.
we'll bring them back, and it might go back 17 generations. They might go back 3 generations. It might go back just to their parents. It might go back to the grandparents. And then we bring it all the way back into the now. And then when we're doing that, just like you and I were talking about, we get to actually clear it from their current standpoint. So that's where techniques like Ho'oponopono come in so powerfully, because it actually helps the person. When you clear the person of it, it clears the entire generational line as well. And it's been fascinating because I've seen it done where we clear someone and they say, my mom has this big problem. She has this issue with gambling and I can't get her to stop. And I clear it on the patient in front of me. And then she'll call me the next week and she'll say, "You're not going to believe this, but my mom just quit gambling. She says she has no desire to do it anymore." So we know it's a real thing. And we know, just like what you're saying, the issue with the broken heart. I've seen it many times where somebody clears up broken heart issues from lineage. And then they call me and say, "Oh my gosh, my father, for years had this heart issue, and the doctor just said it's resolved."
Fascinating.
Yeah,
People don't realize things in our lifetime that we're dealing with. Really, I would say most of that is passed down from generation to generation to be cleared because that all gets transferred to us in the womb.
correct. And it's so fascinating how that process happens because in the womb we're actually feeling the hurts of our mother in the womb,
Yes.
right? Now, because our memories are wiped, we're not going to have memory. But however, I'm sure you've seen this, there are people who do have access to that. People have memories of being in the womb. I've heard a lot of mediums talking about where they actually have memory in the womb and they actually feel their mother's hurts. There was an amazing, I saw a video of a near death experience. There's a gentleman who was talking about his near death experience where he had a brain cancer and he was dying. He actually died. And he was going through the death process. And his angels come to him and say, "This doesn't have to be it. We can send you back." He goes, "Well, he had full understanding of why he actually created the brain tumor in this life was because he was brought back to, it was like the 11th week he was in the womb. And his mother's energy was I wish I never got pregnant.
Wow.
So he was taking on the sorrow of his mother and then taking on the sorrow of everybody in the world. He saw it, and then he saw where he wasn't able to step up and meet the demands of the needs of everybody. So there was like this split or this divide, and that's where he made the agreement that he would create the cancer at a very young age. So he then realized he didn't have to take on that burden and released it, and then he was thrust back into his body. And he speaks all over the world now about changing your thoughts and your belief systems.
Right. Yeah, people don't realize in the womb, which is where we are being developed, and all the feelings and thoughts from our mother are being passed on to us. So,
Yeah.
and and then once you're born, that first 7 years of your life is the most critical and the most important, because
Yes.
everything that happens then is what the traumas, the pain, the hurt gets carried forward as you grow as an adult.
Correct. It's so true. So, which is also so neat when I was learning how to do these clearings. So let's say I'm working with somebody in front of me, and we're clearing these emotions, but it attaches to, let's say, 7 people in their life. Let's say their mother, their father, their sister, um, their brother, and they clear it. I've seen it where everybody who was also holding on to that healed as well.
Yes. Yeah,
It's
that's the important thing. People don't realize when we heal and clear these things ourselves, we're clearing not only for us, but people in the family and past
Yeah,
generations. Like we're setting everybody free.
that's exactly right. And what's interesting is by setting everybody free, we're actually able now to recreate ourselves because we're
Yes.
not shackled, right, to those old beliefs that this is who I am.
Yes. Yes. Then you want to recreate the story of how you want it to be, not keep recycling that old story.
Yes. Yeah, it's very empowering.
Yes. Also, people don't realize the way that you are born. If you have a very difficult childbirth, that also affects your life, how your life is going to be. So, if you've had a very difficult childbirth, there's something there you need to clear to make your
Yes.
life on a better path.
Yeah, absolutely. What's also interesting is I've seen generational connections where I've had to clear where father or grandfather was a athlete, very talented, and then there was something traumatic that happened, either an injury or something. And when I think the patient was 19, kept getting hurt, broken ankle, tore his knee, hurt his back, neck. He kept saying, geez, I feel like once I get started and I'm really starting to make some headway, I get injured.
Mhm.
So I started doing the testing, and sure enough, it was a generational connection, right? So we were able to clear that and never had an injury again.
That's amazing.
So, like we were talking about, it stems so much, not just for our disease process, but also for the physical body as well.
Right. Yeah, if somebody has, let's say, in their family, constant money issues or heart problems run in the family, or high blood pressure runs in the family, or cancer runs in the family,
Mm-hmm.
or they're can't have relationships don't work.
Mm-hmm.
There's something that's tied to their family lineage that gets passed on to them to heal.
Yes, it's so true. I'll tell you another interesting story. I'll never forget this one. So I was working with a patient, and it had tested for an ancestral connection. So the woman who I was working with, she would tell me that whatever she ate, she would get bloated. Okay. So I'm testing her, and I'm like, this is testing for, ancestral connection. And it's connecting to her mother. So her mother happened to be at the visit with her. And I asked the mother, I said, when you were younger, were you bloated? She said, no, but because we were so afraid that the other people from her, where she lived in, it kind of, she's like, everybody kind of like mingled together. Like she'd start eating and people would steal her food. So she said she would eat as fast as she possibly could so no one would steal her food, and she would get engorged and she would get bloated. So the daughter was taking on that energy.
Mm,
So when we cleared that, the mom's bloating went away as well.
that's amazing.
So, and it wasn't like it took a while. We literally did the work right there. And 3 days later, they came back and the mom was just speechless. She said, I can't believe this. This is the first time ever in my life I ate a meal without feeling bloated, because the mom was holding on to that false belief that it was going to be taken away from her.
Hmm.
It was like that aspect of deservedness.
Fascinating. So, for people listening that realize there may be ancestral trauma passed on from generation to generation, what can they do to clear it? What do you recommend the steps on clearing that?
So if they're detecting ancestral connection, this one, normally things by ourselves are easy to clear. These are kind of hard to clear by ourselves because we don't necessarily know we have them. So, but let's say someone was able to figure out that it was ancestral. The first thing you want to do is you want to find out where it's connected to, what ancestor. Then the second thing you want to do is you want to find out what is the emotion behind it. Why are they holding on to that ancestral connection? Is it fear? Is it worry? Is it judgment? Is it self-esteem? What is the reason why they're holding on to that judgment? So we'll figure out from their higher self why. And then from there, once they understand what it is, then it's just simple, either Ho'oponopono, or it's a meditation, or it's a visualization, or it's a declaration that this no longer serves you, and that you're literally placing the intention to change the emotional tie.
So they really need to sit and get clear if they're trying to do this on their own on
Yeah.
where it's coming from. It might be a little difficult for people to try to do this on
It, yeah.
themselves.
The other hard part about it is the ego steps in. So it's very hard for us to say, well, I have this because of this person. Because if we're really close to our parents or to our ancestors, we say, well, I have these headaches because of my grandmother. But I love my grandmother. Now we're blaming her. You think it's blaming her, but it's not. It's actually taking away her hurts that she was holding on to, or it's connecting to the origin of her hurts. So it is harder so to do it for ancestral than it is for ourselves,
Mhm.
because it's easy for me to recognize, oh, I'm holding on to a fear of success. Easy. But what's harder is I'm holding on to an ancestral connection of fear of success.
Mhm.
So whether from the womb, first generation, second generation, third generation, because we don't necessarily see these people in our life. So that's what makes it more challenging. So, there are books on this and there are seminars on this, but it really helps if someone goes to a skilled practitioner who knows how to do this. Because this is the one area which is like that gray area, which is actually even for me, I have to go to somebody to help me clear it for my lineage.
So if people want to clear this, if they recognize, well, everybody in my family has always had this, or I've been to healers and nobody can clear it up, it could be ancestral. And that could
Correct.
be, something, if you want to make an appointment with you, they can schedule an appointment with you to clear this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so here's some other ways in which ancestral shows up. So they start working at a job and then they quit. And then they start at another job and they quit. They start another job and they quit. And they can't figure out why every job they start, something inside of them just says, I don't like it. So I've tested people on that and it shows up ancestral. Because let's say ancestral, they come to find out that they were from a long line of, let's say, potato farmers, or apple growers. They'll actually feel as though they're breaking away from their tribe or their culture, and they'll have this subconscious feeling of being drawn to doing whatever was done the most in their family. So a lot of people come to me because they want to break that. They say, I feel like I'm stuck. I every job I get, I sabotage. And
Right.
then we find out what it is. And I say, well, think about being a farmer. And they're like, wow, that feels really good. Why? And then we come to find out it's ancestral. So that's where they have to allow themselves to let that go with a false belief that says, well, I have to follow in my parents, grandparents, great grandparents' footsteps. They have
Right.
to like cut that cord.
Right.
So
Or,
it's so hard.
if there was, I know back in the day with marriages and people getting married, a lot of the parents were disapproving, especially if it was a different religion or race, very disapproving if they did that, chose somebody that was not acceptable. So there could be a family past generational issue with that. So even in this lifetime, that's why they may not have relationships that work because of that energy going on.
Yes, absolutely. It's so true. And once again, when they don't realize that the energy is present, that's where it becomes very daunting,
Mhm.
frustrating. And that's where a lot of people just say, I, I don't understand why this disease process just showed up, is because it is ancestral and they just weren't aware to it.
Right. Yeah, it's so fascinating. I was thinking today, even with children that come into our family, being, for myself, being a grandmother now, having children
Mm-hmm.
and being a grandmother, maybe that was a distant relative that comes in and they're here and I'm to help them clear stuff because I'm awake and aware. So,
Yeah.
they might have been experienced this in past lives.
Yes. Yeah. So I'll tell you another. This is one of the craziest stories. So I had a patient in the office years ago, and he had horrible tooth pain on the left side. And I have this tooth chart, and he pointed to the tooth, and then I test, and it shows up ancestral, and it showed up to his grandfather. And his grandfather happened to still be alive. So he actually called his grandfather right there, and he said, "Did anything happen to your tooth, upper left, third from the back?" And so the patient at the time was 22. He said, "Yeah, when I was 22 years old, I got punched, and that tooth got knocked out, and it was never right ever since. And I had a lot of pain in that area for years." So it was the exact age of the patient. The patient had just turned that same age when the grandfather got his tooth knocked out, and now he's connecting to that energy. So what's
It,
even wilder is that when we went in deeper, we found that the patient was actually in a past life with the grandfather.
mhm.
And a similar situation happened where there was a fight in a past life and they both got teeth knocked out. It's just
Fascinating. Yes.
it's so fascinating how it works.
Even in this lifetime, we can have certain things show up. So I'll give you a story because I've done past life regression and it's fascinating. They're, sharp, sharp pain in the head, like a vicious headache. And that was at like age 49.
Mm-hmm.
And, it wouldn't go away. Doing the past life regression, found out that at age 49, during the Cowboys and Indian time in the 1800s, I had oh, what do they call that? That the Indians use, the
Like a tomahawk or something.
tomahawk
Yeah,
was put in my scalp and, that killed me. But that's
yeah,
why I had that vicious headache. So, once I had seen that, then the pain went away.
amazing, right?
It is fascinating. I'll
Yeah,
give you another story of another past life. So I was probably early mid early 50s, I had this incredible pain in my stomach, like piercing 24/7. It would not go away. And I thought, God, I must have something seriously wrong with me. So I saw the healer I was seeing at the time, and she's like, nope, it's nothing on the physical level. Let's go clear it on a past life level. So we did. And in that lifetime, I was a mom with two little kids back in the Roman days. And I could see myself in the white garb and the sandals, and I had two little kids, and I had stolen bread to feed them.
Right.
And a Roman soldier saw that I had stolen, and he came up with his spear and he stabbed me right in the stomach where that pain was, and all the
Okay,
way
yeah.
through. And I remember looking at him and I'm like, I just wanted to feed my kids. They're starving. Now they're
Yeah.
left without a mother. And I remember collapsing down and falling and I died. And that was
Yes.
so traumatic to me. But in this lifetime, which was fascinating, that Roman soldier was my ex-husband. And he had to
Interesting.
come back and take care of me and my children that I had for killing me in that lifetime.
Right.
As soon as I had seen that, what happened, the pain went away. I cleared that. And, you know, it was fascinating seeing that.
That is absolutely amazing.
Yes. So a lot of things in this lifetime could be from something that happened in past lives that we're just recreating in this lifetime at the
Yeah,
same age. And
absolutely. We're recreating it. Yes.
yes, and we're
So
recreating in this lifetime to clear. And
yes,
once, there is that saying, to see is to be set free.
yes,
Once you see this, then you're set free. You don't have to carry it with you anymore.
absolutely correct. So that's exactly what I was just thinking about. So when for the listeners, when they say, okay, well, what's one thing I could do? Well, just like you're saying, we just want to make clear who we are, the power that we really are. Really acknowledge that there's so much more to you. Acknowledge that the universe is always on your side. Acknowledge that you're always supported. So just by moving into that energy, instead of being stuck into why is this happening? Why is that happening? I don't feel good. And just keep focusing on that. Move your focus to, okay, there's a bigger picture here. There's a much bigger picture here. There's a bigger reason for my life.
Yeah.
So, once we're in that state of acceptance of it, then that's where we can move into the next stage of actually getting clear guidance from the heart. That's why I encourage people, if you don't know what I know right now, you're wrong, because you do know. You're infinite intelligence and it's in your heart. So I tell people, close your eyes, focus on the heart, and ask the question. And then you will literally hear it. You'll be guided to the answer. You're that powerful.
So for them, ask what question? What question should they ask?
What's the most important thing I need to know about this illness, injury, recurring injury? And then you'll hear it. It's from your mother, grandmother, great grandmother, grandfather, great grandfather. You were a soldier in a past life. You'll hear your heart speaking right to you, telling you exactly why it's there.
It is so fascinating. It
Yeah,
really, like everything is connected.
it really is. It's truly amazing. Um,
Yes.
so, so any suggestions you would have for the listeners that you like to use?
So for me, because I've gotten really adept and good on like tuning into my body and tuning into myself, it's like a muscle that you build and you can develop. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're just starting off, again, it's just sitting quietly and just like you said, ask questions like, where is this coming from? Because I know this is not mine. I know this
Correct.
is not me. So where can you direct me to find out what this pain is, what this illness is? Is it on my mother's side? Is it on my
Yeah.
father's side? Um, if you have siblings that have the same issue, you know, we're all carrying that. So follow, some when you go for a medical checkup, they want to know on your father's side, what do you have? On your mother's
Yeah,
side, what do you have? So see what's going on each side and then, trace that back. Did your grandmother or your great grandmother have this or great grandfather have these certain things?
yes,
And you can kind of pinpoint, but then as far as clearing, they could do the Ho'oponopono at
yeah,
home to clear it. Would you walk them through that if they're able
yeah,
to figure out?
yeah. So if they're able to figure it out, so let's say we come to find out that it's lack, right? Feeling like they don't deserve something. Um, so with the Ho'oponopono, but the first thing they're going to do is they're going to acknowledge themselves. So I tell the patients, visualize you're stepping out of your body, you're turning around, and you're looking at yourself. But you're looking at the version of you who experienced the trauma, whether it's 10 years old, 5 years old in the womb, and you're looking at yourself at whatever stage of your life. So, like, let's say I said, well, when I was 12 years old, I started feeling this. I would step out of my body now and visualize I'm going into the timeline of me where I'm 12 years old. I'm entering that timeline and then I'm looking directly into my eyes, but the 12-year-old eyes. And I'm saying to him, I'm visualizing myself putting my hand on his heart and he's putting his hand on my heart. And I'm saying to him, to my highest, most divine self. So I'm acknowledging my highest self. Then the first line I would say is, for whatever reason I had to experience or take responsibility for this false energy of lack or limitation or limiting beliefs or feeling like I'm not enough or don't have enough or can't get enough, I'm sorry. The second line I say is, please forgive me. Somebody had to teach me this, whether it's parents, grandparents, ancestors, loved ones, that you have to work really, really hard to get a little bit of money, or you got to work really, really hard to get ahead, or money doesn't grow on trees, or whatever lack statements I learn, I have to find out where I learned them from and say, please forgive me. Then I'm going to say to myself, thank you. And I'm going to visualize these cords of attachment to all these people. Thank you for cutting the cords. So I visualize I'm literally cutting the cords and I'm cleaning and clearing the energy around the lack. The feeling is, oh, it's not enough or never enough, whatever it may be. And then I'm thanking myself for showing me why I had to experience this, because the soul learns in opposites. So I thank myself for experiencing the true abundance that I've always been. I thank myself for knowing that through this experience, I have always been and always will be infinitely abundant. And then the last part I say, the most deepest expression of love is I say to myself, I love you. For people who have children, I say, remember the moment your child was born, and then say, I love you in that context. So it's the most intense I love you, personal I love you. And
That's
that's hope.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's very powerful. So they could do this at home with anything.
Correct, with anything.
Yes. And realize, for me, what I have learned on my journey of healing is everything that happens, having had cancer or financial issues or relationship issues, I look at them with such gratitude. I am grateful for that experience because that experience brought me awareness to recognize these things of something in myself I needed to heal and shift to grow and move beyond it. So if
Yes.
things show up, they're going to keep showing up over and over through different people. You've got to heal what that is so that you can move beyond and not creating the same cycle over and over again with different people.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I have
Absolutely.
unbelievable gratitude for this because really the whole purpose for me of being alive on this planet is self-healing. When we
Yes.
heal ourselves, we're healing our generations.
Correct.
We heal whatever issues, whatever anything that shows up for us, we're healing that whole entire lineage. Like you could see them all lined up in a row. and just see their faces of like, oh my God, such gratitude that they're all being set free.
It's amazing. It really is. And when I really go in deep, like as you were talking, I could really feel what you were saying. Um, it almost like brings you to another place. I had my eyes closed. It was almost like bringing you through a journey. Um,
Yes.
so all you have to do really for people who are new at this, kind of just start talking it out, and it will literally bring you into that place. Like you'll think you're dreaming, but it's amazing. It'll bring you right there. Like when you were talking, it was like bringing me through this journey.
Mm.
So it really is that simple, but you just have to trust it. You have to trust that you're that powerful, and that you really can do this. And when you
Yes.
clear, oh, everything changes.
Everything then
Yeah.
in your life changes when you start clearing these things out
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
the whole lineage is cleared out. So it's
Yeah.
like everybody's getting a fresh slate to start
Yes.
over that
Yes.
doesn't have to be passed on. So, whatever I passed on to my children before I learned all of this, I'm even clearing for them the more deeper I go into my work.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then for grandchildren, I'm clearing for them. And then all
Yeah.
my ancestors that came before me, I
Yeah.
clear for them.
Absolutely true.
That's why for me, doing this work is the most powerful, important thing we can do on the planet. And there's a saying, if you want to um, be the change in the world or heal the world, it starts by you healing yourself. Like we need
Correct.
to be that change. It's
Yes.
not making some broad change globally. If every single person took responsibility for themselves and for healing themselves, then you start healing the planet. You start
Correct.
healing everything that's gone on in your family. It's so powerful.
Yes. Because we are connected. We're
Mhm.
all connected. And when we heal one, we heal the all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even, there's people that travel in different soul groups that I'm sure you've heard of this.
Yes.
We keep showing up lifetime after lifetime, this same soul group reenacting all these things till we finally get it.
Yes.
So I can also see, when we finally get it, all the ancestors on the other side, clapping and having a party, like, oh my
Yes.
God, like she got it or he got it,
Correct.
set free.
Exactly right. That's what they say. They say it's like the heavens rejoice when we finally get it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because remember, like our memory is wiped. So we don't
Yes.
know exactly what our mission is here. And when we finally get it, it's amazing.
Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
so many people focus on, well, let me be successful and let me, just work on having the most money and buying
Yes.
all these material things. No, the most important thing we can do while we're alive is work on ourselves and heal ourselves.
Correct. So true. That is
Yeah.
the key. Yes.
Yes.
Well, this was great, Holly. I really appreciate this. And I hope for our listeners, it really makes sense of how to do this. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us.
Yes, absolutely. And if people want to reach you, if they want to have a session with you, how should they contact you?
They could just go to the website, drmattsinger.com.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Well,
Well,
thank
thank
you.
you.
This was powerful.
Yes, so powerful. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you. Thank you, Holly.
Thank you. I appreciate you too. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.